Please visit our site at www.richstateofmind.com, where we provide content on real estate, personal finances, and self-development. Share your story and information by posting a blog on our site so that the Rich State of Mind community continues to grow in knowledge. You can also follow our Instagram page at rich_state brand to find out about exclusive offers and discount promotions for our apparel. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 5. Time isn't our friend, but it isn't our enemy either. So in this episode, I want to talk about this concept of time that one of my mentors taught me a couple years ago. And his mentor told him, it's think about your life in a week, right? Monday through Sunday, right? So Monday is when you were born to 10 years old. Tuesday is 11 to 20 years old. Wednesday is 21 to 30 years old. Thursday is 31 to 40 years old. Friday is 41 to 50 years old. Saturday is 51 to 60 years old. And Sunday is 61 to 70 years old. So most of us that work Monday through Friday, we can't wait for the weekend. Can't wait for our Saturday, Sunday to relax. So think about that in your life, right? By Friday, you want that to be the last day that you work. For those of us that would like to retire early, build wealth, stuff like that. So Friday is 41 to 50 years old, right? Imagine if you got to enjoy your Saturday and your Sunday, which is your 51 to 60 years old for Saturday and 61 to 70 years old for Sunday. I think about like this: Sunday is the Sabbath day, right? That's the day we're supposed to be relaxing. So definitely like Sunday, I want to be chilling. A lot of us end up working till our Sunday, past our Sunday. So in this episode, I want to talk about that, and I hope y'all enjoy. So I want you to think about, what day of the week are you in right now in your journey, right? So are you on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I want you to think about those of us that are in our, we'll say, late Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I want you to think about the days prior, which would be your years prior. Lessons learned, what you think you did good, what you felt like you could have worked on. Think about for a second what you've done and how it's kind of molded you into what you are today. And what I want you to do is break your life down into that week, because I want you to think about in two different ways. One, sense of urgency, right? Have a sense of urgency and understand that time is not going to always be on our side. And before you know it, years pass and you don't accomplish the things that you wanted to do, whether it be make more time for your family, retire from your job so that you can spend more time doing other things that you had an actual passion for. I know a lot of us, we end up doing things out of necessity in order to make sure we take care of our family or even take care of ourselves, by shooting for the things that we really had a passion and love for. Right. So right now I'm in my Wednesday. I'm actually in my late Wednesday. I'll be 30 later this year. And so my Monday and my Tuesday was very influential into what my Wednesday ended up being. But I learned so much in my Wednesday that it will forever change my Thursday and my Friday and my Saturday and Sunday. And so what I want y'all to think about is, think about the day of the week that you're in, right? So if you're on Wednesday, you're 21 to 30. Think about that day of the week that you're in and say, how can I maximize this day? I got this day to take care of. The sky's the limit. Take care of anything I want to take care of, because at this day and age, right, there's so much information at our fingertips. So we can do so much within a decade. We could do so much within 5 years, even within a year. And so with that being said, with me talking about my Monday and my Tuesday being very influential, that was my upbringing. And that's what I want to also kind of talk about, okay, parents. As parents, right, our kids don't have but so much control over their Monday and Tuesday. So that's where we as parents come in and do everything we can to invest into them, so that when they come into their late Tuesday, let's just say they're late, they leave the house at 18, which is like their late Tuesday. They are prepared for the world. They will make their own mistakes. They will be hard headed, right? Because they don't always listen to the things that we have to say. But at the end of the day, we know that and when I say invest, it's not so much money or even stocks or even giving them property, teaching them the intangible characteristics in order to be able to be a contribution to them, to their family, to themselves, and to their community. And so a lot of people, I think, they think investing time, and this is my perspective, right? So I'm not saying that my perspective is foolproof, but to me, investing into my son, because that's the only child I have right now, investing into my son means teaching him certain particular values like integrity, like you being the type of individual to where you don't go through life trying to please others, right? Making sure that nobody does you wrong. Those things, building up his confidence, right? Not, and then I think a lot of times too, we have this concept right now where everybody gets a trophy. Or one thing that he told me was, Daddy, as long as I try, that's all that matters. And I stopped him for a second because I know that this is something that is a thought process. Because right now he's in his Monday because he's 7 years old, and there are certain things that I know, and I noticed that as parents, we instill in our kids in the Monday and Tuesday, and they will carry that philosophy for the rest of their lives until something else happens that changes their thought process. And he told me, he said, Daddy, as long as he failed at something, and he told me, as long as I try, that's all that matters. And I stopped him and I was like, son, I'm gonna tell you something. Do you think Daddy has been successful at his job and the things that he does with the business just because he tries? Do you think that when Daddy's in a meeting and he has to provide a certain type of production to his boss, that he says, "Well, sir, ma'am, I tried"? No, after a while, that's not good enough. You have to actually accomplish. There has to be results. So I explained that to him because I don't want him going through life thinking, well, as long as I try, it's okay. And then I never end up accomplishing anything. And it's those type of things that I want him to keep in mind in his Monday and Tuesday. So when he goes into life with his Wednesday and Thursday, and so on and so forth, he understands okay, I could try, but at some point I got to produce. And that's especially once he becomes a husband and a father himself. He does. You imagine me telling my son, "Hey, son, I can't feed you today because Daddy tried, but couldn't make it." He ain't trying to hear that. He's like, "Daddy, where my food at? Like, where my clothes at?" So I kind of want him to understand that. I try not to make him so to where it's a pessimistic thought process. So when he becomes an adult, he looks at this world as this gritty world where he's got to produce, and it's black and white only. But I do understand the value at an early age to instill particular characteristics and values, principles into him. So with understanding that, okay, thinking about it where my life is in a week, don't want to add the pressure like, oh my God, I got this amount of time to accomplish these things, and to where you get kind of flabbergasted, right? But I also want you to understand that I do want you to be able to say, all right, I got this amount of time. How can I maximize this and to be as successful as possible? So what you end up having to do is mastering your time management skills. You have to sit back and lay out goals. And so what I do is I write down my goals on a dry erase board, on not sticky notes, but flashcards. On those flashcards, on the dry erase board, I write out everything I want to knock out in a year, everything I want to knock out in 5 years. And if I'm want to accomplish something in particular, I'll take a picture of it or find it on the internet, and I will print it out and post it up there. So every day I see that goal. Every day I am being reminded, Anthony, what are you doing to move towards that so that you maximize your day of the week? And it allows me to hold myself accountable because and sometimes I would say this too, with having people, like-minded people in your circle, that think about, they may not understand it like how I broke it down the days of the week, but they do know have a sense of urgency, right? Understanding we don't have time to waste time. They can hold you accountable. So having an accountability partner would actually be, I recommend. I have one that holds me accountable actually every day with a lot of things. Actually, sometimes I just want to help people, and it's like, hey, well, is that helping towards your family right now? Focus back, and sometimes you have to prioritize, because I just want to do things just to help the next person. But if it is taking away from my main goal, which overall is the future of my family, then they are what comes first. And that is, even to the second, that is taken away from what my main goal is to do for my family. So always think about that, right? Is the thing that I'm doing right now, is it in some way, shape, or form contributing to the end goal, or am I wasting time? One thing that I love to do, I love to play video games. I I've been playing video games probably for the last 25 years. And one thing that I realized last year when I went on deployment is how much time I used up playing on a video game. Now I love playing my video game with the boys, playing 2K, Anthem, Grand Theft Auto, anything like that. But the hours that I spent on that game with them was hours taken away from me being able to find real estate deals, to educate myself on business. And then what's that do? That takes away time from my family. And so people may not think about it to that large scale, because to some people, and even to me, which is why I still hop on it here and there, it's my getaway. It's my quick getaway where I don't have to think too much, right? And it's time to myself. But you got to have a cutoff so that you're not taking away too much time away from your goal. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast because it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other outlets. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And thank you for listening. So when we look at social media, we look at a lot of people enjoying life, having a good time. And I would say that social media is like a speck of what people post on social media, is but a speck of what really happens behind closed doors. Whether it is people they really do bust their ass and they're working hard. So the only time you do see them is that they're enjoying life, or that's all people are probably just doing, or just enjoying life. And one thing that I learned is, and I would say that this is where my accountability partner comes into place, to make sure that I take the time to just enjoy myself sometimes. But life isn't all about just good times, especially if you want to be productive in life. You have to understand that in order to enjoy those good times and not regret, spending more time being productive, you got to, like my dad used to tell me, you got to work before you play, which is the same thing I intend to kind of teach my son. What I tell my son is, when he wakes up, so what my son used to do is he'll wake up in the morning, early in the morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock before I wake up. And the first thing he does is he hops on the game, whether it's iPad or whether it's his Nintendo Switch. And so I'm not a big fan of that's the first thing you do, right? Because when I go down there, he ain't make his bed, he ain't brush his teeth, ain't wash his face, none of that. So I told him, so I took the iPad, I took the Switch on the weekend. So when the first thing he does when he wakes up, he doesn't have those things to distract him for what he really has to do. He has to be productive first. First productive thing, brush my teeth, wash my face, make my bed. Then the next thing I told him to do is knock on my door, wake me up, and we're going to look up houses together. We're going to take notes. We'll eat breakfast and stuff. We'll take care of breakfast and stuff like that before, because usually we end up having like a pre-breakfast, which is like cereal together. and a couple hours later we'll have like a real cooked breakfast, just something to hold us tight. But I want him to get into the habit of, before I go and play, I need to take care of my responsibilities first. And so if I instill these things into him again, his Monday and his Tuesday, when he goes into his Wednesday, he will not waste it. He will take care of work first, and then he can enjoy and truly enjoy, because he know he took care of his business. Because what I don't want him to do, and the reason why I'm really passionate about this topic, is you don't want to go through a whole year, let's say 2019. You don't want to go through 2019 and say, wow, I didn't accomplish anything. You don't want to look at even at 2020, the year we're in now, where even though COVID is inhibiting a lot of things, there's a lot of people still thriving in 2020. Don't let 2020 fool you, whether it's from social media or it's from the newscasting, that the world is in so much turmoil that things are not getting done. People are still chasing their dreams, accomplishing them, making money, making power moves. So I would say we're in July. You still got 5 more months till 2020 to make it something. To at least one thing, right? It could just be one thing that puts you one step closer towards your final goal. As long as you're tracking to the right, that's all, that's all you could ever ask of yourself. Because there will be bumps in the road that maybe put you a couple steps back. Don't let those bumps in the road be self-inflicted though. As Try to minimize that as much as possible, which is where mentors come in, which is where watching others, right? Because we want to we want to progress in life based off of wisdom, not experience. Experience is when we experience pain and it hurts and it sets us back. We got to take a break. But wisdom, watching other people do it, learning from other individuals, that's when things become streamlined and seamless. Now, there are certain things that we'll just have to go through on our own because they're kind of unique to anything anybody else is going through. I went through a situation like that where I had the HVAC system to be changed when I bought my new house. I didn't know anybody that needed a whole new HVAC. So I had to go through that scenario on my own and learn that on my own. And I actually kind of got blessed in that situation, actually. So it kind of worked out for me. So throughout life, you kind of get lucky. The curveballs come, and maybe God will throw you a bone and he'll look out for you. Otherwise, you might have to take that L, but it's not really a real L, because unless you want to call that L a lesson and not a loss, it's just a lesson. Or as Dave Ramsey say, if you do something that ended up costing you money and it was a mistake, cause it stupid tax. All right, so remember, Monday through Sunday, right? So again, as I'm saying all this, I want y'all to really think about what day of the week you're at, how you're going to maximize that. And you could break it down by the day. So on top of me having a dry erase board, pictures, and note cards, I also have a calendar above my desk. On that calendar, I write down the things that I am supposed to be accomplishing each day and what time it's supposed to be happening. And then I also, on top of that, I have taskers next to that. On the taskers, my personal taskers towards my personal goals, not work, and that has nothing to do with work. My work taskers stay at work. But I have my personal taskers. If I need the grass to get cut, okay, I write that down. I got a rota issue on Richmond Avenue. Okay, let me write that down. I'm actually reading off of my taskers right now. Follow up with driveway quote, refinance duplex. I'm looking at my taskers. I write down, so I write a white box next to it, and I color it halfway in when it's in progress. That way, it reminds me to, okay, I need to follow up. And if I need to write more details on what I'm working on, I'll put it in my notes. But at least in my face, I see what is accomplished, what has not been touched at all, and what is in progress. And what that does is it, again, holds me accountable. It's all about holding yourself accountable throughout the process, because you don't want to be caught slipping. Now, you have your days and you may have your weeks where it's like, oh man, I'm a little off. And that's where you need to recalibrate. So you're not going to be perfect throughout this process, and it's not going to be smooth, but that's the beauty in it. That's where later on in life, when you have your children, or you already have your children, or you have your mentees, you could tell them, hey, these are the things that I went through, and this is what I can do. This is what you can do to amplify it and become better for it. And so that's why I have my son wake up with me, or he wakes me up, and I have him by my side so that I can instill these things in him now so that he'll be better prepared. Because a lot of these things in our Monday and our Tuesday, when we're going to public schools, we're not taught how to put sand and paint a cabinet. We're not taught how to write it. Well, we're taught to write a check, but we're not taught how to get a loan. At least not my generation. I wasn't taught about interest rates. I wasn't taught about business accounts. Wasn't taught about business loans. Wasn't taught about private lender, hard money lender, real estate, commercial real estate. I look at a mall or a movie theater, and I would wonder, like, how does somebody own that? How does somebody even obtain something like that? Because I love the movies, even though right now owning a movie theater would be crazy because nobody can't go because of COVID. I always looked at that. I think the first time I thought about that was when I was looking at the Magic Johnson movie theater in New York. And I was just like, how does he buy something like that? Who do you talk to? Like, it's not like there's a sign that says owned by Carl Ritchie. It was just something that, those are the things that in that Monday and Tuesday, I want to be able to expose my son to. And it's something I want y'all to think about. You expose your children. It could be your cousins, your nieces and nephews, so that when they come into the world, there's opportunities. Because when it comes to if you just go based off your knowledge, just off of school, it only lines you up to just do that, to just be be a scholar. But then the real world things like pay rent or buying a car, those things you don't know anything about. Your parents have to teach you those things. And so I want my son, and kind of something I want y'all to think about. I want y'all to be able to provide as many opportunities and thought processes for your kids or mentees or anything of the above, so that when they move on, okay, I don't have to just be a teacher. I don't have to just be a lawyer or a nurse to be successful. I could be a contractor. I could learn a trade. I could be an entrepreneur. And so a lot of that comes with instilling those things early. And I think there's a freedom in that, right? It allows you not to just have them on a mainstream thinking, and maybe you'll find out early what their real strengths are. You see a lot of kids where, okay, they're not great at school academically, but wow, he's a damn good carpenter. How can you find that skill out without exposing them to particular things? You're just thinking your child has an issue, a learning disability, when really that's just not that's not how they learn. There may be a genius at looking at measurements, looking at construction, and like, okay, I can put that together, piece that together, and then boom, they done made a dresser from scratch. And again, your Mondays and Tuesdays, I really care about that concept, because that is the future. We as adults, we as parents, we're going to get older, and it's not too late for us. It's never too late to change your younger generations. But at the same time, your younger generation is going to be one that's going to be ruling everything while you're supposed to be relaxing. Because, good luck trying to keep up with them as you're getting older. They're still young. A good way to kind of tie everything together, right? I talked a lot about time management and utilizing either your past, your experiences that you've had, the past experience you've had, the wisdom of those around you through mentors, and making sure that you invest into your kids, or like I said, the younger generation. So there's this book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You all may have heard of it, but it talks about these 7 habits, and I'll go through them real quick. So number 1 is be proactive. Number 2 is begin with the end in mind. 3, put first things first. 4, think win-win. 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. 6, synergize, and 7, sharpen the saw. So number 1 with being proactive, pretty much it's we're in charge. We choose the scripts by which we choose to live by, our lives by. We use this self-awareness to be proactive and take responsibility for our choices. We have to be able to distinguish the fact that we inherit the ability to examine our own character, to decide to view ourselves and our situations and control our own effectiveness. Reactive people take a passive stance. They believe the world is likely to happen to them. They say things like, there's nothing I can do. That's just the way I am. They think the problem is out there, but the thought is the problem. Reactivity becomes a self-fulfillment prophecy, and reactive people feel increasingly victimized and out of control. But proactive people, however, we like to recognize that we have the responsibility or the responsibility to choose how we will respond to a given stimulus or situation. So reactive equals like this in this situation. If you're reactive, he makes me so mad. But if you're proactive, I control my own feelings. So I want y'all to think about that when it comes to habit number 1. Habit number 2 begin with the end in mind. Start with a clear destination in mind. We can use our imagination to develop a vision of what we want to become and use our conscience to decide what values will guide us. Most of us find it rather easy to busy ourselves. We work hard to achieve victories, promotions, higher income, and more recognition. But we don't often stop to evaluate the meaning behind this busyness, behind these victories. We don't ask ourselves if these things that we focus on so intently are what really matter to us. Got to think about that. Visualize in rich detail your own funeral when keeping the end in mind. Who is there? What are they saying about you? About how you lived your life? About the relationships you had? What do you want them to say? Think about how your priorities would have changed if you had 30 or more days to live. Start living by these priorities. Break down different roles in your life, whether professional, personal, or community, and list 3 to 5 goals you want to achieve for each. Define what scares you. Public speaking, critical feedback after writing a book. Write down the worst case scenario for your biggest fear. Then visualize how you'll handle this situation. Write down exactly how you'll handle it. So that's habit 2. Habit 3, put first things first. In order to manage ourselves effectively, we must put first things first. We must have the discipline to prioritize our day-to-day actions based on what is most important, not as what is most urgent. The importance of determining our values and understanding what it is we are setting out to achieve. It's about actually going after these goals and executing our priorities on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. In order to maintain the discipline and the focus to stay on track toward our goals, we need to have the willpower to do something when we don't want to. We need to act according to our values rather than our desires or impulses at any given moment. We have to understand, hey, this ain't helping my situation. I got to stay on track, stay on task, which again goes back to what I was saying about having an accountability partner. All right, number 4, think win-win. So in order to establish effective interdependent relationships, we must commit to creating a win-win situations that are mutually beneficial and satisfying to each party. This is broken down into 6 paradigms of human interaction. I'll probably jack that word up. So win-win, both people win. Agreements or solutions are mutual, beneficial, and satisfying to both parties. You got win-lose. If I win, you lose. Win-lose people are prone to use positional power, credentials, and personality to get their way. You see that a lot in the military. A lot of people in the military impose their influence, impose their rank on you. How many people in the military have heard, I did my time? Or, hey, man, you're lower rank, which pretty much is another way of saying, hey, I'm going to win, you're going to lose just because of my position. Lose-win, I lose, you win. Lose-win people are quick to please and appease and seek strength from popularity or acceptance. But at that same time, you're sucking yourself thin. You're sucking yourself dry, and you're not pouring into yourself the way you should. You're pouring into others. Like I said early in the podcast, there are times when I want to help people because I just like to be able to spread the knowledge or to just be able to give a helping hand. But if it takes away from my family and what I am trying to accomplish for them, then I have to prioritize. If I got the extra time to do it, cool. If it is taken away from my fam, sorry, I can't. You have lose-lose. Both people lose. When two win-lose people get together, that is, when two determined, stubborn, ego-invested individuals interact, the result will be a lose-lose. So I see that a lot at work. And they're fine with it. They're just fine. They're just fine with having a lose-lose because as long as the other person loses, they're fine. And then you have 5. This is the 5th subtopic under win-win. People with the win mentality don't necessarily want someone else to lose, but that's irrelevant. What matters is what they get. They get what they want. And then win-win or no deal. If you can't reach an agreement that is mutually beneficial, there's no deal. The best option to create is win-win. With win-lose or lose-win, one person appears to get what he wants for the moment, but the results will negatively impact the relationship between those two people going forward. Things to take away. Think about an upcoming interaction. Identify 3 important relationships in your life. Think about what you feel, the balance in each of those relationships. Do you give more than you take? Do you take more than you give? Write down 10 ways to always give more you take with each one. That's something to think about because people that are around you, are they sucking you dry? Are they pouring into you as much as you're pouring into them? A lot of us were givers because that's naturally who we are, and then we may be around takers. And I'm not saying every relationship that you're in has to be beneficial, right, or transactional, but they definitely can't be a relationship to where they are bringing you down. So deeply consider your own interaction tendencies. Are they win-lose? How does that affect your interactions with others? Can you identify the source of that approach? Determine whether or not this is helpful. All right, so this is the 5th habit. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So before we can offer advice, suggest solutions, or effective interact with other people in any way, we must seek to deeply understand them and their perspective through empathetic listening. A couple ways to, with habit 5, to make sure that you are being understood. One good practice is next time that you see 2 people talking, just cover your ears, don't listen, just look at their reactions to each other. Look at how their body language, look at their eyes, right? How they're looking at each other. You know, is there a mutual respect? Is there disdain? Is there positivity in that conversation? Look at that. How you project yourself is how people are going to receive you. You may say, well, I never said anything. But how the energy that you're projecting may tell people this person's they're an a-hole. And you may have never said anything. I'm learning that to this day, you know, as I have to watch my stance. I have to watch my facial expressions. There are social cues that we give off that tell people this is what this person is. And then later on we say, you know, I'm so misunderstood. You have to think about consistently the things that you're doing that is making people read you a particular way. I had a friend that told me, and excuse the language, but this is how the story kind of goes. If you go throughout the day and throughout work, and one person was mean to you, then you say, man, that person was an asshole. Well, you just met one asshole for that day. And maybe that person was having a bad day. But if you go through the day at work and you meet 5 assholes that are being mean to you, then perhaps you're that asshole. So just something to think about as far as the energy that we project to others and how we are received before we even get to say anything, and how it can help us to best understand people and how we can better be understood. Habit number 6, synergize. So by understanding and valuing the differences in other person's perspective, we have the opportunity to create synergy, which allows us to uncover new possibilities through openness and creativity. Synergy allows us to create new alternatives and open new possibilities. It allows us as a group to collectively agree. So that's big. And so as I'm kind of going through these habits, as you can see, it's not just about how productive you are and how you are as a person. It's also how you are affecting those around you, because the things that we want to accomplish, they affect others, they involve others, they require other people. So habit number 7, sharpen the saw. To be effective, we must devote the time to renewing ourselves physically, spiritually, mentally, and socially. This focuses on our renewal or taking the time to sharpen the saw, because it surrounds all of the other habits and makes each one possible by preserving and enhancing our greatest asset, which is ourself. The goal of a physical dimension is to continuously improve the physical part of us. Exercise, drink water, get as much rest as possible. Mentally, make sure we're taking those mental breaks, 5 minutes, just not thinking about anything. Those of us that like to get into yoga, for me, my mental break, I'm going to play the video game with the boys. That's my mental break from everything else. Sometimes taking a pause is required. It is healthy. So a key lesson from the 7th habit: make a list of activities that would help you renew yourself. Once you make your list of activities that will help renew yourself, select one of those activities and set a goal for yourself within a week. At the end of that week, evaluate your performance. Identify what led to your success or your failure of you accomplishing that goal or not accomplishing that goal. And so again, these are all notes that I've put together from the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it's a book written by Stephen R. Covey. And so the reason why I wanted that to be the end of this episode is so that it kind of breaks down in more detail of how to be the most effective with the time that you have. And so maybe if it may take a couple times to listen to this, to kind of compile it together, but it's bigger than just going out there and doing something. You have to believe it. You have to think you can do it. And then in the midst of that, make calculated decisions on, okay, is this particular thing that I'm doing, is it adding to the end result? And that's why I wanted to go over the 7 habits. We all have our strengths and weaknesses that inhibit us or add value to the things that we want. But those 7 habits kind of round us out a bit, make us a little bit more well-rounded, so that we can optimize the opportunities that are presented to us, to ourselves, or the opportunities that we can create on our own. Because a lot of opportunities, I think we sell ourselves short on the opportunities that we could provide for ourselves. And when we create opportunities, it's funny how other opportunities just happen to fall on our laps sometimes. Like I said, we receive what we project. And I truly believe in that. And so I hope that this episode helped. I hope that you listen to the 7 habits. Read the book if I was y'all. Or you can go on YouTube, and they have videos of it summarized, so that you don't have to go and read the book. I think there's like a 20-minute video on YouTube of somebody summarizing a book, so you can get a more in-depth understanding of what I was getting at. But I hope I was able to break it down a bit as to, okay, we have Monday through Sunday is our life. Monday is when we were born. Sundays on, hopefully we all live past 70, but Sunday on, that's the end of our life. But in between Monday and Sunday, are we being effective? Are we using those 7 habits of being effective and understanding that what I do throughout my life, not only am I affected, but it's affecting the others, and it requires other people, right? It requires me to interact with other people. And am I utilizing my resources? And am I utilizing myself, which is because I'm my biggest resource. You're your biggest resource effectively to accomplish the goals. So it's a lot bigger than just, hey, I'm going to go out there and just do it. Plan. You got to be organized. You have to hold yourself accountable. And things will work out. And just because it doesn't work out when you want it to does not mean that it will not come. In my life, and I would consider the 30 years I've been on this earth short, I've been able to understand and see that all hard work pays off. It just may not come when you feel like it should come. So thank y'all for listening. Appreciate y'all.